Welcome to Nuanced Beauty, because the world is nuanced and we think that's beautiful. Hi guys, welcome back to Nuanced Beauty.
Hey, everybody.
Today I wanted to pose the question, do you talk about money? And how comfortable are you talking about money?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've done a lot of work into this, and they've had a lot of like group studies to kind of make us more comfortable. But not everyone is. I mean, it's hard, and I think culturally we've been indoctrinated to not really talk about money.
Yeah,
Uh,
even like our salaries, that's a big
Specifically, what
taboo.
I'm thinking of. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
don't tell people how
and that
much you make or how you budget.
yeah, and that definitely benefits the employee, not the employer solely. But uh, yeah, I think there's a lot of anxiety around talking about money because of the class implications. Am I do I belong in this
Power
group of people or not? The
dynamics.
power dynamics of it, and just the vulnerability of, do I actually have the means to live in this lifestyle or not? Do I even want to look at that myself, or do I want to just kind of continue this image of myself, or have someone's anxiety? This was something that was true for my parents. I think is that they had so much anxiety about money that they never really talked about. They talked about it a lot, but never in productive terms. They would just talk about how much they didn't have money, but they don't think they knew. To be honest,
Like didn't fully grasp their budget and such. So that is really what we wanted to capture in this episode. And with the New Year's around the corner, we are setting up our spreadsheet. We keep an Excel spreadsheet and budget that way. And we thought we would just share our history of how we have and haven't handled our money well over the years.
yeah. If you want to talk about conflict in our marriage, not about the money,
It's
about
about
the
how you
spreadsheet.
talk about the
Nope.
money. Oh, the spreadsheet.
How you organize the spreadsheet.
Yes. But let's go back to square one.
Okay, square one.
Let's go back to we are engaged. We are senior year of college doing marriage counseling.
Mm-hmm.
And what advice did we get?
Yeah, we got engaged the fall of our senior year, and I don't know about you, I would have got married like right then, but we were at a military school and they wouldn't really let us. So we went through like a whole year of marriage counseling, and the thing that we were told was unequivocally merge your income. This is not your money or her money. This is just money that you just have. That's part of your marriage that you earn together and spend together. Uh, when we start dividing things into mine and yours, you're creating
A space
a
for
division.
things to go awry or a lack of
And
trust
there's
and
and he didn't say this, but I'm going to say it.
cohesion.
There's going to be plenty of divisions in your marriage. Let's not make more. You don't have to.
Uh-huh.
And that was something that's very easy for us to go along with because we didn't have any money. So
Yeah, we each had an account. We didn't really have like tangible assets. We had very little debt,
you had a car.
but I owned it.
Yeah,
It wasn't
I
a
didn't.
loan.
I didn't have a car,
Mm-hmm.
so that was an asset. That was a tangible asset. I had an account with USAA. You had an account with USAA. So I put
I
you.
had an account with Navy Federal.
I had an account with Navy Federal.
And that was it?
So I put you on my account. You put me on your account. Do you remember which is which?
No.
I remember which is which.
Lovely.
Mine's the more important one.
But bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom. Our finances are
merged, right?
super
How
easy for us to do. Like,
Uh-huh.
I imagine it's a lot more difficult for someone if they actually lived some life before they got married. Just the administration of it is probably part of what holds some folks back.
Yeah. And so then, we got married and we are now double income, no kid household.
Making a ton of money for being
Making
22.
plenty. Yes, making plenty. We don't have that many debts. And so at the time, I had a rough spreadsheet outline of here's our debts and here's our bills and here's what we owe. And I created this thing and I think I presented it to you as like, well, here's our budget, here's our spreadsheet,
Yeah.
but we're not gonna like actually stick to this. So whatever.
So here's what our spreadsheet looked like. And from day one, you did an exceptional job tracking our
debts.
Really the main thing our debts and bills, our mandatory spend. Was tracked. So we were never late on anything. We never didn't know about a bill. Our bills were tracked. And you had that in a certain font. That was in Times New Roman, bold, unitalicized.
Okay.
And that was in a table that had borders and everything, and it had dates and all of this. It was very formal.
Uh-huh.
And then under that, in slightly smaller print, and italicized, you had, okay, this is what discretionary, this is what we're going to spend at Target, here's what we're going to spend for going out, here's all this,
Uh-huh.
and here's what we're not going to, here's the part of the budget we're going to follow. Here's a part of the budget we're not going to follow. And I said, check, we're not going to follow it.
We're not going to pay attention to that part.
Yeah. And then,
Uh-huh.
then we wouldn't. And then you would be stressed, but oh, we blew our budget again. I'm like, as predicted,
Yeah,
we
stress.
did exactly what we said we were going to do.
Uh-huh.
We said we were going to not spend on this. I don't understand the problem.
And I think that like stress would be like maybe a slight overstatement, because I think I was just like I was dismissing. Like I put in a little bit of effort, so I kind of had control over this thing, but I knew that I wasn't controlling the outcome, so
Mhm.
therefore I was like dismissing it. Like, but
Yeah.
this isn't really accurate, but it's
And
close enough.
I took you at your word.
Yeah. So then you fast forward and we are expecting our first son,
Mhm.
and I
Our income is suddenly threatened.
yeah, based on what jobs we're going to hold. I was
Mhm.
sailing and I came ashore.
I had taken a pay cut to come ashore,
Uh-huh.
and Christina went 2C to make up that gap, but now she couldn't go to sea anymore.
So
So
now we're looking at our spreadsheet and our finances, and we also are looking. We actually had already bought our first home at that point. When
and how the heck are we going to afford this
and then we're
house
looking at it and we're like,
with our
can
like
we afford all these things?
2.5% down just because we just got on the carousel by the skin of our teeth in that Seattle housing market. And now we're sitting here with you being not sure what you're going to be able to do for work, me not making very much money in my shoreside job, and you expecting our first son.
And we're like, oh
Oh
crap.
no. Oh.
So thankfully, our church had a financial peace university course, and that is a course ran by Dave Ramsey and his team. And I will caveat and share that I know, like, it's a lot of folks in Christian circles have okay vibes. Some people think Dave Ramsey is very proud, but most people are like, no, I'm for it. Like, get your finances in
The
order
dude's a
and spend your money
polarizing
well.
figure, to be sure,
Hmm.
because he's kind of a jerk.
He's very blunt.
I
So you going
I
into it, you were kind of like you were on board to do this
well,
class, but you
I
had your
perceived him
own
as a kind of
baggage.
used car salesman sort of guy, because well, and first you invited me like we were dating. You wanted me to go to
Like a 3-day weekend
a
seminar.
something. It was a seminar. I don't remember being 3 days, but whatever, down in the Tacoma Dome, and it just sounded kind of not pyramid schemey because he definitely wasn't asking us to sell Financial Peace University. Although hey, here we are. Um,
Uh-huh.
but it just definitely just seemed too glamorous to be useful.
Yeah.
I thought, and when I was on one of my ships, this was years before then, someone had left a copy of his flagship book, The Total Money Makeover, in the control room. And I didn't have much to do one day at work, and I started reading it just to have something to do. And oh my God, was it awful? It was just bad. He
He used the words total money makeover way
at
too
least
much
a dozen
in page
times
one
on
and two.
page one,
Uh-huh.
and it felt like someone in high school trying to stretch their word count on an essay by just you don't say don't in an essay, you say do not, just so you have the extra words, right?
Yes.
At some point he could have acronymized it or something, made it
Uh-huh.
TTMM something,
TM
but he said
squared.
the total money makeover, full style, every with the trademark too, like in superscript in the body of text. It was italicized with the superscript trademark, total money makeover,
So it was TM
every
squared TM.
time. Yes.
Okay.
Maybe that's why he didn't do it, because he would have had to put parentheses and a whole distributive property of T's and M's and all this. Maybe that was why he didn't do it. But I'm like, this guy is so
I'm
full
not
of
on
shit.
board of this. I'm not on
Yeah,
board with this.
he's trying to sell me something, and if there's one thing I hate is someone trying to sell me something.
Mm-hmm.
If I want it, I'm going to buy it. If I don't, I don't. Like, don't try to sell me, or I'm just definitely not going to buy it.
Yeah.
But then we were broke, so
then yeah, here we are. We're expecting. We just bought our home, and we want to get a grip on our finances because
we had
of
kind of a
lack of
heart to
job
heart. Like,
security.
I was pretty cavalier about it still. Like, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And you're
Uh-huh.
like, no, I'm actually worried. And I went, oh, 'cause I didn't,
Get that I actually was worried
had
about it.
feelings and everything,
So we went ahead and we did the class, and
I didn't want to do it, but I love you.
and yeah, and I would say that overall, it did provide us with a common language, and we totally, like, fundamentally, the idea of making your money work for you and intentionally spending your money, that is at the heart of it, and living within your means.
Yeah,
And
the big thing that sold me on it once we got into it, his book, The Complete Guide to Money, was far less
gimmicky.
gimmicky. That's the word. Thank you.
Hmm.
And there's a line in there at one point. It says, "Man, it's your money. If you want to spend $200 a month in pizza, spend $200 a month in pizza. Just plan for it and do it. It's your money. Spend it."
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Oh, okay. This is
yeah,
reasonable.
that's
I can
yeah,
support this. Yeah,
right.
I get it. I agree.
Just whatever you're gonna do it on purpose. I'm for it.
So, that really, we did that course and we had some debts, not very many, and we paid off the remaining debts that we had, and we
Hmm.
had an idea of our money. And quite frankly, a couple, like 1 to 2 years after that, Bill had a job opportunity come up on the radar, and it was a major pay cut.
Yeah, even bigger pay cut.
And I think you would agree, we would not have accepted that job had we not done the foundational work to understand what we were
Hmm.
spending on.
Yeah, and one of the things, could we afford it? Could we not afford it? We wouldn't have known if we can afford it,
And
and
so I
our
would have
risk
just
to.
felt really uncomfortable,
Hmm.
and I would have probably been like, I don't think you should do it."
I don't think I would have even brought it to you.
Okay.
Like at least I hope that's what's true, because the alternate timeline is I brought it to you, you say no, and I just resent you forever.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that's no good. So,
but odds are I just never would have even brought it to you,
uh-huh.
because no way we could do it.
But, given that we had the framework, we had an idea of our spending, we actually could afford to do it, and you took that job, and it went A-okay.
Mhm.
That's kind of where I would say the high level of our storyline for what brought us to doing a budget. And I wanted to go into a couple of nuanced ideas. First off, why we merged our money. We talked about that at the top of this episode. And I think that there is valid hesitation for people to merge their money.
Yeah, I think such an extremely vulnerable thing that was easy for us to do because we had nothing to lose. But it'd be very cavalier for us to sit here and say everyone ought to do this. I might believe that, but my lived experience was way different because, again, I had no money to merge.
Hmm.
And I've talked to folks when I was at sea who, like, yeah, I've been married 35 years. We've always had separate accounts. Here's how we do it. We're kind of transparent about this. We're less transparent about that, but this is what we do, and it's worked for us. And how the hell are you going to tell the guy who's been married 35 years he's doing it wrong?
Yeah,
I'm sure as hell not.
and I think our independent culture really feeds into just the general feeling about money anyways.
Hmm.
What my money is my hard-earned money and it's mine. And so then it plays out in a marriage of you wanting to keep accounts separate and you
Hmm.
just divide the bills. Like you take these bills and you take these bills,
Hmm.
and we'll make sure that everything is paid for. And then I also think that there's a place here for people with a prior divorce under their belt and the mess and the
Hmm.
hardship that they had to go through for separating their finances back then, that I think that there's a level of maybe guardedness where I don't want to be all in with our finances merged.
Yeah, however amicable a divorce might seem on the surface, and there's going to be some trauma that's going to come out of that you're going to be shaped by, for sure.
And I think maybe I just, there's room for things to be kept in secret when you don't merge your monies. And I think that that is that I think that that's maybe a key reason
Yeah, well, I mean,
why we
you could
would
argue that this is
merge our money.
a different podcast, but I think it's a little bit to do with how you perceive a marriage to be.
Uh-huh.
Because if you perceive it as we do, as a complete joining of mind, body, and soul, we are one person, one unit at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, then it's kind of not in keeping with that vision to have separate finances. If
Yeah.
you view marriage, as I think a lot of folks in our current culture do, as just a business arrangement, or it's a commitment that you're making, that's an elevated commitment, a higher level contract than a boyfriend girlfriend relationship, but you're still independent. You're just in this arrangement. And
That's beneficial to both of you.
yeah, and I don't think most folks in like a that sort of marriage would frame it that way, but I think that's what's true.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or a slant to the
yeah,
undertones of thinking.
I saw a reel the other day that was talking about a woman being a stay-at-home mom and her friend advising her to keep some money aside just in case, which is a thing that I think a lot of women are advised just in case something goes wrong. And what really grinded me about it was how it was framed, saying, well, think of what he gets. He gets his children taken care of, and he gets to go make all this money. And what do you get? Uh, as though her role was to support his life.
Mhm.
And therefore she should have some money on the side because she's completely beholden to him and dependent. And in a way she is. I'm not going to take that away, but it still had this view of the fact that he was working, being and making money. The fact he was making money, that is the ultimate. That's the apex goal of the
Of
life.
independence.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
apex goal of life. And I just have such a different viewpoint of I'm the sole provider at the moment, but I see myself as being subservient, not subservient. That's not the right word. Uh, in support of you,
Uh-huh.
because the apex goal is raising the kids, and I get to serve you in that mission by going and working and bring my money home so you can do that.
Yeah.
But in a world where the apex goal is to make more money,
How do you
uh,
surrender that?
how do you surrender that?
Mhm.
Uh, and again, because I kind of grew up in a quasi, upper middle class family, I'll say. I was never hurting for money, and then we went to a very good school that got us very good jobs out of school. I could be kind of cavalier about money, and
Mhm.
that's something I get to do. But I think, yeah, if you set it up as the apex purpose of life, then it's understandable to want to keep some of that for you. If you give all that up, you've given up
All of
everything,
your control, all of your
everything.
power, all of what you hold. Yeah. But I and that's where I think ultimately we would see the ability to forge trust and set common goals in our marriage
Mhm.
by the act of us merging our finances. It is a way that we are both submitting to each other. And
Mhm.
likewise, right now you're the provider for our home, but before this job, I had the higher paid
Yeah.
income.
She was
So
supporting
we've
my dream of being able to teach.
So
Absolutely.
we've kind of had changes in who has the most money, and if you viewed money as the highest level of power, so technically our power dynamic changed, but that's not how we view it. So therefore, it didn't apply like that for
I
us.
never felt overpowered by you for that reason.
Thanks. Uh-huh. But I point that out to say, like where do you stand on that topic that this might be where it would play out for you if one
Mhm.
spouse makes more or less, and how that is going to play out into your own insecurities and your
Mhm.
own worldview of this. So another area of nuance to talk about is spending thresholds.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mm.
in our house, I would say if I spend more than $40 on Amazon, I'm probably telling you what I'm purchasing.
Mhm. And this isn't formal because I think I would probably, depending on what it is, I'll spend a lot on a book, but anything else, I'm probably gonna talk to you about something over 20.
Yeah, and I mean, you struggle to spend like $20 on fertilizer or $20 on your underwear
Yeah.
because you don't want to spend money on yourself.
No.
Um, but like we have kind of this, and this is we never like articulated
Never
this out
codified it.
loud, but we kind of have it in our own over the time as we've chatted in our own space of like, oh, like if I spend more than this amount, like especially if it's $100 and it's not like a bill,
Mhm.
we're talking about
Yeah,
that
it's
expense.
are we okay spending this?
Uh-huh.
If it's something in that like $20 to $40 range, we might let each other know so that we don't both spend something that's $20 to $40 and just drain an account we didn't mean to.
Uh-huh.
Did we have plans for this money?
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, then there's kind of it sounds so. If we phrase it a different way, it sounds terrible. I need my wife's permission before I can spend $100.
Yeah, and that's not exactly, but we're
But
submitting to each
kind
other.
of,
Yeah.
it's mutual, I'd say.
Yeah.
Uh, Now, where it gets complicated is when you spend $20 5 times. We have a lot
Or
of
$5 a day at Starbucks. It's probably not that bad, but we death by 1,000 paper
Yeah,
cuts.
Christina buys a lot of Christmas lights. I buy a lot of coffee.
Uh-huh. So we spend the lower threshold dollars, but we each spend a bit.
Mhm.
But then where our parameter is that that particular bank account doesn't have has X dollars in it total. So that's kind of what keeps us in check, is that that category of our spending is kept in check by the
Oh
overall
man, I tell you, if you want to talk about
amount that we
again
spend.
big fights we've had about money, yes, the formatting of the spreadsheet, A, and B, whether or not we'd have uh, slush fund money. Because when we first started doing the Dave Ramsey thing, I was intense about it because I had a spreadsheet that didn't allow contingency money.
Uh-huh.
But we had a number of sinking funds. So Christina would come to me and say things like, oh, I want to go buy some shoes. And I'd say, okay, well, we didn't budget for
What
shoes this
category
month.
is that? Yeah.
So we can do one of two things. We can either wait until next month, or we could take from our car sinking fund, kind of essentially borrow against our own savings, and then just next month replenish that plus the amount of the shoes. And man, you didn't like that.
Well, it was just
Yeah,
frustrating
well, because at first I'm like, okay, we should have a discretionary fund, slush fund for things. And you're like, well, no, because we didn't know everything we're spending. I'm like, okay, well,
because that's what's encouraged.
because
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
they say in
It's
the book. I'm like,
encouraged to know what
okay.
every dollar is doing for
So
you.
I'm like, okay, well, let's not have a slush fund then and just do it this way. And then you're like, well, I don't want that either. I'm like, well, make up your mind. You need to have
Yes.
one or the other.
And and we went back and forth. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
We landed on the idea I had to begin with.
Yeah, we have this like discretionary fund.
I need to say that anytime we can because I don't have very many wins.
That's not true. You have
Oh,
lots.
I have the important one because I won you.
Uh-huh.
No.
Oh. Okay. So, let's hop into giving some practical tips here that we kind of covered a little bit of the nuance that I wanted to get into, and then I wanted to go a little practical. Um, one person has to manage the spreadsheet or the money tracker or whatever. So pick. There may be a person who has a tendency to love numbers and they may want to do it. Um, in our case, we're kind of in the middle where we both feel comfortable doing it.
That's what I was gonna say. I think it can change in different seasons.
Uh-huh.
Who's doing it? As long as it like both are agreement who in this season is doing it.
Yeah, but one person like needs to
Mm-hmm.
be doing that tracking, monitoring aspect. Um, and note to the money handler, as Bill mentioned, try hard not to take every comment about the spending during a budgeting meeting as like personal attack on your spreadsheet.
Now,
Because,
I never took it as a personal attack. The dollar allocations.
okay,
That's just how the points are.
uh huh.
What I took very personally was the spreadsheet's stupid. It makes no sense. You're an idiot. I took that part
Did I say
personally.
it like that?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, that's how it came across. So, yeah, you're gonna have to figure that out, right? Like, there's gonna be some finessing, there's gonna be some arguments, there's gonna be some discussions about how to spend your money.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say a monthly meeting to discuss the budget, or if you're single, review your spreadsheet at least once a month because typically your bills are a monthly. You could do it weekly, you could do it every 2 weeks, but if you're gonna do like a meeting
I feel
with
like we
the
kind of
two of
chat
you,
every paycheck is what we kind of do.
yeah, that's what's
And
worked
it's
for
not
us
even like
these
a
days.
formal meeting. You'll text me. I moved these dollar values to these
To these
accounts,
categories. Yeah,
and I'll say cool or hey, can we do this?
we need
But
we need to allocate
yeah,
for this particular car maintenance or
I
something.
think when we have bigger life changes, pay raises, job losses, like that's when we have more formal meetings. But
Mhm.
we just kind of communicate as we go.
Yeah. And I would say another area of consideration is spending percentages.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this might be something that you could Google to get some ideas, but when we did Financial Peace University, it talked about like percentages for like rent or home. It should be 25 to 30% of your income.
And he's
And
very rigid about these percentages.
he is, and I think that's one of the things that Bill kind of it stood out to him as kind of annoying given the cost of living these days, I guess. Um, but the numbers are there, and that's where I would say the most important thing is that you guys are in agreement. You're in agreement here. Figure out what your risk tolerance is and what you guys are willing to take on as a risk.
Yeah, and those percentages are you nailed it. It's a risk tolerance, and if you guys are in agreement with how much you tolerate risk, and the odds are you don't, like no two people are going to have the exact same risk tolerance.
Yeah.
That's where you come to a compromise. But uh,
And looking at those percentages will also give you the opportunity to, if you're trying to cut back on your spending, seeing the percentage that you're spending in an area is a way of analyzing your overall income and being able to make decisions like, hey, this category of entertainment or this category of I'm going to buy a new car next month.
mhm,
So, what percentage are you comfortable spending there? That's where sorting things out into a category to see your overall budget is going to be useful.
mhm,
The last thing I would add as a practical tip would be the different websites and apps that are available out there.
mhm.
Uh, we, of course, have just done the traditional Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, it was hard to get out of that habit once we had it. But we've had people like aggressively try to sell us on like you need a budget. Um, the Dave Ramsey course is really stressed
Dave
the
Ramsey is the every
every
dollar
dollar,
count.
and they are aggressive. And like you don't just need a budget, you need this budget,
Yeah,
which is
I don't. I think they appreciate what they
the
created.
the zeal, the
Passion behind
fervor,
it.
the quasi insane glint behind the eyes of someone
Uh,
who is trying to tell you about you need a budget is just so terrifying to me.
it's passionate for sure.
I feel like I'd have to join a cult.
Oh my gosh. So there's that, and then I think there's also there's some other apps out there right now. I mean, even our
I'm sure
bank
there's a
has
thousand of
the
them.
ability to kind of track your budget. Um, but yeah, I would wrap this up by saying that there is beauty in talking about money, and it is an ability for you and your spouse to forge some common ground of trust and understanding. Your values and your heart will definitely shine through based on how you're spending your money.
Yeah, well, I think money is just a proxy for what you value, what you dream, and what you fear. All three kind of bundled together. So when you're talking about money, you're not talking about pieces of paper. It's just actually it's cotton, which is a fun fact about paper money.
Uh-huh.
It's just paper that we're just moving around. It has no meaning whatsoever except for what you're going to do with it. And when you're talking about this with your spouse in particular, you're sharing
You're revealing a
your
lot.
what you want out of your life and what you fear within your life. So it's a deeply vulnerable, but it can also be a deeply beautiful thing because it's not really about the money. Money's
Mhm.
fake. Money doesn't matter.
Uh-huh.
It's a completely made up concept, except for what you can do with it because we all pretend it has value.
Yeah.
Capitalism.
Jeez. Yeah. So with that, get comfortable. Get comfortable talking about money. Be willing to go there with your spouse or go there yourself if you're not married. Be able to see how you're spending. And if you are having these conversations with people, know that it's not a one and done conversation. It's going to be a journey, and you're going to have to go back and refine your budget and continue working on it. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and in the spirit of nuance, I hope you found something that you could agree with and disagree with and still choose to lean in. If you're liking the show, please follow us and share it with friends and leave a rating and review. Until next time.